Welcome to the channel. Today I'll be giving you tips on every role in MOBAs. From the jungler, to the slayer, to the support, to the ADC, and to the mid lane mage. I'll be starting off with supports. Support is one of the most important roles, if not the most important role, right after jungle. I feel as though they're about evened out. But as a support, the primary things you need to know as a support is map awareness. Map awareness and roaming. Or you are required to have very high map awareness. Good map awareness can change a team fight and avoid a constant gank. How to roam. Roaming is one of the most important things in MOBAs. No matter what MOBA it is, from AOV to League of Legends to Mobile Legends, roaming as a support is a primary must if you're playing support. And remember to build around the enemy's comp as a support. If they're building magic, build magic defense. If the enemy can turn invisible, such as Quillin or Wukong, build an item that counters that jungler. If you're going against an enemy that has a lot of control, such as Darcy, Alistar, Aram, make sure to build items based on their comp. That will completely protect your team as support. Another very important tip as support is to know where your jungler is at all times. If you know where your jungler is, you will know when the ganks will happen. If you know where the ganks will happen, you will be able to know when to engage. Like right here, I made a huge mistake. Did not watch the map. I got no pings. So that is a complete mistake on my part for not having map awareness as the jungler. But support, one of the most important roles in MOBAs, guaranteed. The next role I want to talk about is ADC. ADC goes hand in hand with support, but the ADC's primary goal in MOBAs is normally to take towers and deal heavy burst damage in team fights. ADCs, if not all ADCs, are most likely squishy or very easily killed by the enemy assassin, ADC, or mage. Depending on the team fight, the ADC can be perfectly positioned, and that is a very important tip I want to talk about. Positioning. Positioning as the ADC is key. If you are in the perfect position to where your support is covering you, your jungle has you covered, your mage has you covered, and your slayer lane is coming down or is distracting them to where you can be in the back line dealing burst damage and not being bursted down yourself. So positioning is key when it comes to team fights, because the ADC is right after the jungler in burst damage in 90% of cases in teams. Also, take towers. As the ADC, you should not be afraid to go into a tower and take a tower. I've seen so many ADCs run from a low HP tower with minions under it. Out of fear, they're going to get jumped or ganked, even with their support with them. Perfect support by Zip, by the way, while I was talking about supports. That's kind of ironic. But remember, you're the ADC. You're squishy, but you do a lot of tower damage. You do a lot of burst damage. So as the ADC, you are needed. The ADC is needed for team fights, is needed to take towers, and it's needed in overall good positioning. A good ADC can change an entire game. Same for support. Supports can change games. The next role I want to talk about is mid lane. Mid lane is probably, in my opinion, the third most important role after support and jungle. The reason I say mid lane is this important is because mid lane is the gank when the jungle is nowhere around. If the jungler is clearing his jungle and top needs help, but he's on bottom, it is mid's responsibility to handle the gank when he is not able to gank. Mid's job is control. CC is what we call it. They are responsible for the heavy area control with characters like Darcy, who has insane CC, Alistair, who's all CC, L'Oreal, who's CC with the ult, and Sephara, who's CC, Illumia, all CC. 90% of mages have mostly CC based abilities. Also, magic damage. That is another tip I want to talk about. Magic damage. Having the magic damage on the team is very important, because if the enemy's team is building physical defense and you have magical damage, that will completely pierce through any of their defense, and they will have to focus more magical defense, reducing on their physical defense. But like I said, CC, crowd control, ult perfectly. If you ult perfectly on your mage, you will win 90% of your team fights. As long as you have, like I said, good positioning, such as the ADC, good CC, and good map awareness. Now the next role I want to talk about is Slayer Lane. Slayer Lane is one of the roles a lot of people mess up and easily get out rotated and get ganked easily, and basically just completely ignore the rest of the map until they lose their tower. Now the Slayer Lane is, in my opinion, the weakest lane in MOBAs, but it is still a very important role. As the Slayer Lane, you have the ability to gank mid lane and out-rotate your Slayer Lane, winning team fights in a 4v5 or 3v4. But tip number 1, map awareness. Map awareness. On ADC, tip number 1, positioning. But on Slayer, tip number 1, map awareness. Know where your Slayer Lane is at all times. Never allow yourself to get out-rotated. If you get out-rotated, your team, your mid lane, will get ganked and die majority of the time he is ganked, and that will lead to your team being behind. Another tip for Slayer Lane: know where their enemy jungler is to where you can avoid an easy gank on your lane. If your jungler does not have to worry about your lane, he is free of mind to gank the other lanes, knowing his top lane is perfectly fine without his help. Also, another role I want to talk about is jungler. Now, jungler is, in my opinion, the most important role right before support. Now, jungler, they're responsible for having all map awareness, having the best rotations, the most gold, the most kills on the entire map and Moba match. A good jungler is key to win. If you have a bad jungler, you will lose. Having a bad jungler will change outcomes insanely. That's why I named jungle, because jungle is one of the most important roles in MOBAs. And like I said, map awareness, rotations, and positioning. As a jungler, you have to know how to position yourself correctly. If you can position yourself correctly as the jungle, you will be able to gank every single time. And as the jungle, another tip is know when to take objectives and when not to take objectives. If you can invade, invade. If you can take the objectives such as Abyssal Dragon or Dark Slayer, take those objectives, but know when to not take the objectives and help in team fights or split push. A final tip on jungle is know, and this is probably one of the most important tips on jungle, is know where their jungler is at all times. If you know where their jungler started, you're able to invade, you're able to tell your team, watch out here, you're able to ping, be careful here, you're able to counter gank them, allowing your team to win while your other lane knows their jungle is in that area. If you follow these small tips for each role, you will succeed in nearly every single match you play from this point on. But remember, play the role you enjoy the most. If you play a role you don't enjoy playing, your chances of improving in that role is much less compared to a role you do enjoy playing. If your team needs a jungle, go jungle, but don't let that be your primary role if you don't enjoy doing jungle. Well, and with that being said, I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.